It is truly hard to believe when you first look at it, but what I am holding is a fully complete, nutrient-dense meat soup in a solid, portable form. This specific block you see here is already 8 months old, having sat in storage, yet it remains perfectly preserved. In fact, this soup will be just as high in quality and taste 2 years from now as it is today. The beauty of this preparation is its sheer simplicity when the time comes to eat. It takes just a couple of minutes to prepare by simply adding boiling water to the frozen block. We have to face the reality that the world we live in is increasingly unstable. The threats of World War III and massive global food supply disruptions are much closer to our doorstep than many of us would like to think. Because of this, being prepared isn't just a hobby, it is a necessity. Today, I'm going to walk you through a comprehensive, step-by-step process on how to take a relatively cheap cut of meat and transform it into dozens of individual portions of hearty soup that can be stored for up to 2 years. It is vital that you watch this entire process until the very end. That is where I will reveal the most important part, the main assembly secret. Without this specific technique, the soup will simply fall apart and lose its structural integrity when it is frozen. Let's get started with the foundation of our meal. I am starting with 1 1/2 pounds of beef shank, which many of you might also know as osso buco. You might wonder why I am choosing this specific cut of meat. Historically, this cut comes from the lower part of the animal's leg. It has always been an affordable option and was long considered the poor man's steak because of its toughness. However, for our purposes in survival cooking, what matters most is a very specific biological component. This meat contains an enormous, concentrated amount of collagen. When subjected to heat over time, that collagen undergoes a transformation into natural gelatin. This is the key to making our dish incredibly juicy, rich, and filling. In a survival situation, expensive cuts like tenderloin have absolutely no place. They lack the connective tissue we need. We specifically require the tendons and the bone to create a meal that sustains the body. I start by setting the heat to maximum. I sear the meat for exactly 2 minutes on each side. This isn't just for looks, it is to seal in the internal flavors and develop a dark, rich crust on the outside. Without this crucial sear, your final broth will look pale and unappetizing. Once the crust is formed, I lower the temperature and hold the meat in the pan for another 7 minutes on each side to ensure the heat penetrates deeply. While this is cooking, I want you to write in the comments right now. Do you actually stockpile food in case of a major crisis or war? I am genuinely curious to find out how many truly prepared and forward-thinking people are watching this channel. Now that the meat has been properly seared and partially cooked, I take it off the heat. Immediately, I wrap it tightly in aluminum foil and let it sit for exactly 7 minutes. This is not an optional step. It is a critical part of the culinary science here. Inside the meat, the fibers are currently contracted due to the intense heat. All of those delicious juices are under enormous internal pressure. If you were to cut into the meat right away, all of that moisture would simply pour out onto your cutting board, leaving the meat dry and tough. By letting it rest in the foil, the fibers relax and reabsorb the juices. While the meat is resting, I turn my attention to the potatoes. I cut them into perfect uniform cubes of about ½ inch in size. I then put them on to cook. But here's the catch. Use the lowest possible heat. You must remember that the simmer must be kept to an absolute minimal level. If the potatoes cook too fast or become too soft, they will start falling apart. After the freezing and thawing process, overcooked potatoes will turn into a disgusting, unpalatable mush. We need these to remain as firm, defined cubes even after they are reconstituted in boiling water. Next, I move on to the aromatics. I finely dice the onion, making sure the pieces are nice and small. The logic here is simple. The smaller the pieces, the faster they will break down and absorb all the rich flavors left behind in the pan. Speaking of the pan, the one we use for the meat goes straight back onto the heat. We are not washing it, and we are certainly not wiping it out. All those brown bits of meat and rendered fat are pure flavor. Now I take the carrot and give it the same treatment as the onion. Small, even cubes. These go right into the pan next to the onions. From this point forward, we just let the heat do the work. We keep it at a medium level with no rushing allowed. We fry everything together patiently until we achieve a deep golden brown color on both the onions and the carrots. This caramelization is where the depth of the soup's flavor profile is born. The 7 minutes are up and the foil comes off the meat. You can actually feel the difference in the texture. Just a few minutes ago, this beef was screaming hot and tense from the pan. Now it has relaxed and the juices have settled back into the tissues. When I cut into it, look at that interior. You have that beautiful dark crust on the outside, but it is perfectly moist all the way through. I begin cutting the beef down into small, even cubes, matching the size of the potatoes we prepared earlier. Now I get to the most important part of the shank, the bone. Right in the center sits that soft, dark filling known as the marrow. I make sure to get every last bit of it out of the bone and put it straight into the bowl with the cubed meat. That marrow is the secret ingredient that separates a survival soup from something thin or watery. It eventually dissolves into the broth, providing a richness and a density that you simply cannot fake with lean meat alone. And whatever you do, do not even think about throwing away that bone. Put it in your freezer. From bones like these, you can later craft an incredible survivalist broth or a collagen concentrate that is excellent for your joints. Hit the like button right now, and if we reach 1,000 likes, I will film the specific recipe for using these leftover bones. To create the liquid base, I am taking a cube of my homemade frozen beef broth. I previously showed the process for making this in my last video, so if you haven't watched that yet, the link will be in the description for you to check out later. I dissolve this concentrated cube in hot water, and just like that, our base is ready. Now we arrive at the assembly secret I mentioned at the beginning. For this, I take 3 glasses. It is mandatory that these glasses have perfectly straight inner walls. If the walls are tapered or curved, you will find it impossible to get the frozen soup out in one piece. We start building the soup in layers. On the very bottom, we place the beef pieces and the marrow. On top of the meat, we add a tight, compact layer of our vegetables that were fried in the beef fat. Only at the very top do we place the cooked potatoes. There is a very specific reason for this order. If you were to put the potatoes on the bottom, they would be crushed under the weight of the meat and the vegetables, turning them into mush. By placing them on top, they stay intact. We fill the glasses with our dissolved hot broth all the way to the rim, cover each one with foil, and place them in the freezer for a couple of hours. Sufficient time has passed, and the soup is now completely frozen. It has transformed into a solid, durable block of ice. To get the soup out of the glasses, the process is simple. We flip the glasses upside down and leave them on the table at room temperature. Within just a couple of minutes, the outer layer will thaw slightly, and the blocks will slide out on their own. Look at this block. It is a perfect single-serving portion. To ensure these last for the long haul, we need to wrap each soup cylinder as tightly as possible in aluminum foil. The goal is to eliminate any contact with the air to prevent freezer burn. Stored in this manner, these portions can sit in your freezer for up to 2 years. Do you truly understand the advantage of this technology? You spend a couple of hours cooking once, and in return, you get 5, 10, or even 20 portions of complete healthy soup. When the time comes that you have no strength left, or when it is perhaps too dangerous to build a fire for a long cooking process, you already have everything you need ready to go. I am always curious to see how far these old-school recipes and survival techniques travel across the globe. Please write in the comments and let me know where you are watching from. Feel free to show your country's flag. Now I want to show you how this works in practice so you can see the quality for yourself. I take one of our ready frozen soup blocks and remove the foil. I place the solid block into a deep bowl and pour boiling water directly over it. We wait just a couple of minutes for the heat to penetrate. Look at the result, a real hot, thick soup. The meat pieces have held their texture perfectly. The potatoes are completely intact and firm. The vegetables have released their color and flavor back into the broth. This is not some chemical powder from a packet or a highly processed canned product. This is a real piece of beef, fresh vegetables, and a rich natural broth, ready in minutes without any actual cooking required at the moment of consumption. The reality is that World War III may start tomorrow, or it may not start for another year. But the only way to ensure your security is to be ready today. I urge you to start making this stockpile now. If this method of food preservation and survival changes the way you look at your freezer and your future security, then you need to take action. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next set of essential survival recipes and strategies. We are uncovering the history and the techniques that are often overlooked, ensuring you stay prepared for anything the future might hold. If you found value in this guide, please like the video to help others find this knowledge. We are building a community of the prepared. Stay ready, stay safe, and I will see you in the next video. Your future self will thank you for the work you do today. The next chapter of survival wisdom will be open soon.